Alright, hey guys, I'm going to do a little brake work this morning on my mama's car. Figured I'd video it, try to see if maybe there's somebody that, I don't know, needed to do it themselves. Maybe this would help. I can tell you ahead of time, I'm no mechanic, no professional at it. I just don't like to pay people to do stuff, so I try to figure it out myself. She's got a mail car and she goes through brakes and stuff pretty regular. The back drums are eat up and worn out, so we're going to replace those, and then the front brake pads, we're going to replace those. The shoes on the back are just been put on, and as long as they're still good, I'm going to kind of sand them, freshen them up, and put them back on there. But I figured I'd do this video to show you. Just forgive me if it bounces around too much. I got this GoPro on my head, and I figured that'd be better since I'm going to have to be moving around different places and trying to set up a tripod. Anyway, if you watch this and it helps you some, good. If not, then don't watch it. No big deal one way or another. Like I said, I don't have all the professional tools. You'll see that when we go to do the drums. You'll see that there's a tool to spread those springs out that is a lot better than what I'm going to do, but I don't have the tool with me, so I'm going to use a pair of vice grips, which you can do, and it ain't that big of a deal, but you know, it'd probably be worth buying the little tool that spreads those springs out if you get a chance. Anyway, we'll get started here in just a second. Let me get the jack under it, and we'll get started. Alright, now I got some of my tools out. I probably ain't got nothing I need yet, but we'll see. Just didn't want to bore you with all that, trying to grab some of it out of there. This is a 2014 Jeep Compass Sport. Just in case you need to know what it is I'm working on. There's a couple of things we'll look at that you probably already know, but I figure it wouldn't be bad to tell you. When you're jacking up a car, make sure first of all, I'd make sure you got a jack that's not going to collapse on you or lay over on you. I've had that happen to me before, so be careful if you try to use any kind of scissor jack or any of those jacks that come from the factory in the cars. They can be dangerous, especially if you don't have, you know, a level concrete place to work. You need to be careful. I know I never used to put jack stands under them and trusted jacks. I had a couple of jacks collapse on me one time, and so I know that's not a good idea. Be careful where you jack it up at too. I have seen people just stick it up under the side of the car, start jacking it up, and just tear all the trim and stuff up on the side because they don't realize that it's not solid metal. You know, there's certain places you jack a car up at. We'll look and see this one. This car, I've done it before, so I kind of already know, but right up under that edge, I believe there's a place to put the factory jack. It's got a solid piece of metal, and it's a small place, but I can get this big jack to catch on it and jack it up. And after I get it jacked up, I'm going to put jack stands under it just to be extra safe, because we're going to be working with the tire off. We're going to be right up under that drum and the part of the axle there. So if something were to happen and the jack collapsed, or you know, anything like that to where it was going to fall, you know, that could cut your legs off, hurt you really, I mean really bad. So you really want to have some extra protection in there just to make sure you don't get hurt. I've got sorry about the phone being in the screen, but this is a impact ratchet thing I've got that is corded. I want to get me a battery operated one, but it's pretty good. It's handy for taking off the tires and stuff. It's really not that big a deal to do it with a 4-way lug, but I don't know, it just saves you a little bit of work. And I have hurt my back twisting them lug wrenches before. I don't know what it is, but sometimes you just twist just right and it'll hurt it. So I have to be a little careful with that anyway. So you'll see in just a second. I'm going to try and get this jack up under here, and then we'll get the tire started coming off. Let me see if I can show you. Let's see if I can show you what I'm talking about up under here. Alright, if you see this spot that's cut out, there's some solid metal there that is made for the jack to sit on. So I'm going to slide my jack up under here and make sure it catches on that. Not this. This is plastic. So I don't want my jack sitting on this plastic, because it's going to bend and bust this plastic until it gets to the metal. So you want your jack to go past the plastic, even if you have to put something on the jack solid. I mean, you got to be careful of that kind of stuff too, to reach in there and grab that place to jack it up at. Like I said, forgive me about this camera deal, but I'm trying to figure this out as I go. There's also places to jack it up under, but the way this axle is, you know, it's got two separate. It's not an axle that goes all the way across on this car, so yeah, it's just not. It's curved up under there. It's just not as safe to put the jack under there. So this is the best place I found on this car, at least for me anyway, to jack it up. So I'm gonna put the jack there. I'm gonna come back out from under here and I'm gonna put the jack there, and then you know, if you're working on a car, to look at those things, because there's several cars that have that on it. And anyway, we'll go from there. Tell you what, I'm gonna stop the video till I get it. That way I don't make you drunk with me bouncing around putting that jack in place. Alright, so I got the jack in place, and you can see male car. She had a deer. I believe that was where the deer run into the side of her, and it just messed up the side of it. I don't know if you know anybody that does mail routes or rural carrier routes, but they are rough on vehicles. Just the nature of it, you know, they're stopping and starting hundreds of times a day, and it's just unreal. I mean, we put brakes on this thing. We put more brakes on this car than most people probably put on all their cars in their whole life. I mean, it's unreal. One thing to tell you, before you jack it up and get the tire off the ground, you know, it's usually good to take the four-way lug, whatever you're using. Now, if you've got an electric one, it's not such a big deal, but take your four-way lug and go ahead and break the nuts loose, and then jack it up, and then take the nuts off, because if you jack it up, the tire, you know, depending on where you're at, and if it's a axle that can spin, you're going to spin the tire around and not have any leverage. So go ahead and break them loose, turn it, get them loose a little bit, and then jack it up, and then spin them on off and take it off. So I'm going to go ahead and take this tire off. Alright, here I'm about to do that. I got the size for this car. This is a 19 millimeter on these lugs. If you'll notice, I'm trying to get close enough you can see. It's crazy having this camera on my head, but you see that the one lug right here? That's actually a little not plastic. It's a little bit thin sheet metal cap that goes over the actual lugs. And most of the time you're able to take them off and those don't come off. But after you've had a vehicle for a little bit and changed them, those things break loose and they come off. And they're just aggravating. I wish they'd make them out of solid metal. And I'm sure they make some, but these ones that come from the factory a lot of times ain't like that. So you'll notice if you're taking it off and that little cap comes off, you can keep it and try and slide it back on there later or whatever you want to do. I usually throw them away because we're not really worried about cosmetics on this one. But anyway, that's something that I knew the first time it come off, I thought, what in the world is going to happen? This could maybe giving you useless information, I don't know, but I kind of like useless information sometimes. I'm going the right way. And nope, it will definitely come off a lot easier if you're going the right direction. Somehow that got put on pretty tight. I can't blame it on anybody else, because I know I'm the one that done it. Well, just acting like that. Alright, that's something. Never have I had it do that, but when I'm videoing, definitely. By the way, putting your hand on sockets when they spin around like that, it's not really a good idea, especially if they're not impact sockets, because those things can slide off and splinter off and put a mess of stuff in your fingers. So don't necessarily do what I'm doing. You probably just saw me make a horrible mistake. I think I just run that thing across some threads. That's not going to be good. I've never had these things stick this bad. I've had them stick sometimes when it's worn out, but that is that's crazy. Usually if it sticks a little bit, you can bump it around some and it'll fall out. But as you can see, that is not what's happening. I have to go put it in my vise. I don't normally have to go through all this. But just so you know, anytime you ever work on something, especially if you're a jackleg like me and you ain't necessarily trying to do it all right, you're going to run into stuff that ain't what it's supposed to be. Alright, let's see. By the way, yeah, nice clean shop, isn't it? There we go. Now, this is one of the good things about having a good clean shop. It makes it fun when you knock stuff off because you get to play scavenger hunt. Look for your stuff. Yeah. Alright. Now, I told you I ain't never had that happen that bad so much before. And I want you to watch. Now that I'm recording this, it's probably going to do it with most of them. Let's see. I may need to check, make sure I've got the right. See how that one come out. Make sure I got the right size. Whatever this thing is, socket. Let me see what. No, I think that may be a little big. Let's see. Let me go get this other set. Could possibly be a little big. Although on my 4-weight lug, all I have is, you know, there's a 19 on there, and then the other side is like I think a 7/8. There's 3/4. They've got like the standard and the metric, depending on what kind of 4-weight you got. So the 19's what I've always used on it, but I mean it's possible that it's a little bit smaller, like an 18 right here. Yeah. Well, that would be why I'm having trouble. Let's use the right tool, and we won't have as much problems. So, I lied to you a while ago. 19 is not the one to use. 18 is. And I think, yeah, that's what the problem is. Right here, that, you know, I told you about that sleeve that's on here. See, this 18 is not going to go on that sleeve. The 19 actually fits on that sleeve. And most of the time, I mean, all these sleeves are just recently, all of them come off. So I usually use the 19 and take them all off. I bump it, they'll fall out, it's no big deal. But once that sleeve comes off, it reduces it down to an 18. And that's why, see, that's why I was having the trouble with it. Normally, it doesn't make that big a difference. But they've been taking off a lot, so I may have wore the edges out a little bit. Alright, so there's my 19. See, it comes off like it's supposed to. 18 took the ones with the sleeves off of it off. Okay. Now, I should have just broke them loose, but anyway. I had a scissor jack under a truck like this on the side of the road. I had a HD 2500 Chevrolet, and I don't know why, because I have never thought to be safe like I should, but I was on the side of the road and had the scissor jack that come with it, and I'm jacking that thing up, and I thought I had some old scrap wood in the back of my truck, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna stick some wood up under here and just pile it up to the transfer case up under, just in case something were to happen. It was late in the evening, I get it jacked up under there, and I put the wood under it, and I climb up under the truck, and I'm putting the wood up under the transfer case. The state trooper pulled up, shined his lights on me so that way I could see what I was doing, I guess. And while I'm under that truck, that thing had been leaning. I guess it had moved some, I don't know. Anyway, it fell, and when it fell, man, I just knew I was dead. There ain't no way I wouldn't have got through that. So anyway, it landed on that wood, and I had just enough time to get out from under that truck. That state trooper like to had a heart attack. But I took the jack and threw it away, and I hadn't used one of them dumb things since. I went and bought that big jack, and have been using it ever since then. And it is, I'd advise you to get a good jack if you're going to do much work on a vehicle. I'd say get one, even if you're not. I'd get, you can get a smaller version of those jacks. Just make sure it's a good one. I bought some stuff from Harbor Freight and things like that, and different places. You just kind of, I don't know, you just need to kind of make sure you get something good when you're going to have something like this, to where it can cause you a lot of damage if it messes up. You can see where this has been wearing her tire out. Time to put some tires on this thing. Alright, now before I get up under here, start doing much, I'm going to put some jack stands on it just to give it some extra support. And I might should have done it. Alright, hold on. Now, what this does, it's got these little teeth. You pick it up. When you lift that up, that drops back down. But let's see. Again, I am not a professional, as you can tell. And I'm not giving you any professional advice on nothing. So if you get out here working on your car because you listen to me and you get hurt, we're going to chalk that up to being your own dumb decision. Because I'm telling you, be careful and take extra care. And don't trust people you see on the internet telling you a good way to do it. Because we don't know what we're talking about most of the time. Oh man, she's got all kind of dirt stuff in here. Alright, here's one thing that gave me a nightmare trying to get this thing off last time. She's drove it a long time and changed the several brakes. The brakes had eat the inside of this rotor out, I mean a good bit. It was at least an 1/8, I think, 3/16 indention on the inside. What that's done is allow the brake shoe to go up inside this this drum, and there's a lip on this back side. So when you go to pull this off, the brake assembly is stuck to it holding it, and it's not letting it come off. It's just, I mean, you can, I found out the hard way. It was rough. Hopefully now that I know what was going on, I'll be able to get it off easier. When I start working it loose, usually you can take a little rubber mallet and bump that around and shake the, brake stuff loose and kind of work it off. But with that lip catching, I got to jump up over the brakes all the way around. So I'm going to try to get something in there and kind of push that down to get it started over it. Maybe I can show you when I get it off what I'm talking about, so that it doesn't plague you too much. Oh, I hope I'm not aggravating you too much watching this video. I can't stand watching videos when somebody's going to show me how to do something, and I spend most of the time watching them talking about dumb stuff like I'm doing now. So if I was you, I would fast forward this part and get to where I'm actually doing it, because I'm not going to be saying anything real important. So why waste your time listening to me talk? Oh, look at there. I just changed this. Good night. Just changed this probably a month ago, because she actually was on the side of the road and the brakes went out, and we thought a line had busted, and this caliper had busted on one side or the other, and I replaced it. But when we replaced it, she still couldn't get brakes, because we still had the old shoes that had no pad left on it. And what was happening is when it let out to try to press on this drum here, I don't know if you can see this, when it let out to try and press on this drum, there was not enough to reach out and touch the drum. So when you push the brakes, it never touched, and if it doesn't touch, it can't create pressure and pressurize the brake lines to make the rest of the brakes work. So no brakes work because these things were so worn out, and this was so worn out that it couldn't make contact and create pressure. So anyway, that was something we learned too. You gotta have this stuff right, because if you don't, you can get yourself in a mess. You see this lip right here? There's an 1/8 of an inch. It's been eat up on this this drum from the original. And you know, usually when you take these off, and somebody that is professional, got a machine shop, does it, they'll turn them. They've got a machine that they stick in there, and it will. I hope y'all can see this. I mean, let me see. Let me get my little camera, my phone over here, see if while I'm talking you're actually seeing. All right. So what happens is they put a machine on here, and it grinds it off a little fraction at a time until it smooths all that out, and it's all the same, and you don't have this lip, and everything works like it's supposed to. When they're eat out this much though, it's best just to put some new ones on, because I mean, you get to a point, like I said earlier, where you got it so much that it wasn't designed to work in that capacity. So when those wear down a little bit, your brakes don't do good. So she bought some more drums. We're going to replace them, but I just see a problem. This is not, I don't want to put them back on. She wanted to use them since we only changed them a month ago, but they're wore down a little bit, and while I'm taking this off and doing it, I want to put some new brake shoes on there. So I'm going to stop the video, run to the parts house, grab some brake shoes. They got lifetime warranty from AutoZone. I'm going to swap these out, get some new ones, and just do all this like I'm supposed to when I get back. Anyway, we'll go through that when I get back. I'll show you how all this works. This can be intimidating when you take this off, especially if you've never done it before, because you're like, oh my goodness, this got 2 springs there. There's an adjustment arm right there that can twist and change, you know, change levels and distance. A self-leveler is what it is. You've got a tensioner. You got this thing here that comes off when you take it loose. You got a spring down here that comes off. You've got an emergency brake on the back. These 2 springs that come off. There's a lot of little bitty parts in there, and if you just start taking it off and it all laying on the ground, you might go, oh my goodness, how do I put it back together? I don't know which spring went where. I don't know which end went where. I don't know anything. So a good thing to do, and I'm going to take my air nozzle and blow this off where we can actually see some of the stuff in here. But you blow this dust off, and then what we'll do is well, what I would normally do is take a picture with your camera, your phone. Just take pictures around to where you can see everything on there and see what it looks like when it goes back on, and then you won't have a problem. But also, when you do these things, do one side at a time. Do this side. Don't take the other side off yet. Do this side, and then get it done. And that way, if you run into a situation where maybe you forgot to take the picture, whatever, and you can't figure out where that goes, you can go look on the other side and just, you know, copy it, putting it back together. Now, that's the way we used to do it. Now that we got Google and YouTube and things like that, I mean, you really ain't got no excuse not to know how to put it back together. So, alright, I told you I hate all this talking, and then here I am doing it. So again, hopefully you fast forward through all this mess and hadn't wasted your time. Be back in a sec. Alright, man, that was a quick trip. Yeah, right, I've been gone a little bit, but anyway, as far as you're concerned, it was quick. One thing I like about AutoZone or places like that, you know, you can got a lifetime warranty on those brake shoes. You just go swap them out when these are bad. We put these on maybe a month or 2 ago, and those bad drums have just eat them up to where I don't want to use them. I mean, they ain't that horrible, but I don't want to use them. So I took and swapped them out, and anyway, worked out good. And you may notice I've still got those on there. So how did I swap them out? I saved the last ones that we took off and wrapped them up and kept them, so the next time we needed some, I wouldn't have to wait till I pulled them off of here to take them back and swap them out. I could take the old ones up there, swap them, and then, you know, and when I take these off, I'll save these, put them in something so that when next time we swap them, all I got to do is, you know, go get them swapped out before I come back. All right, let's see. These gloves on. By the way, this video has been taken while we're doing the quarantine for the coronavirus. So I ain't got nothing else to do. I might as well do this. went up to AutoZone. I'm glad they were still open where I could get the parts to fix this. Alright. Got my air compressor. I'm gonna blow some of this dust out. Alright. Not really necessary. You don't have to do that, but it does make for a lot cleaner job working. You don't have to get so much of that nasty dust all over you. Not that I care to get dirty, it just makes it easier not to get everything else so doggone nasty. Alright, one thing that I need to check real quick that I've never really run into before, so I didn't know, but these drums, when we looked it up online at AutoZone, it just showed one particular drum for it, but when you get there they said that it shows that it can be two different ones, and you got to measure them and figure out which one you want. So my mother just picked up some, and I'm gonna make sure that they're the same as these, because if they're not, I've got to go back to AutoZone again and swap them out. So let's measure them and see if these are close to being the same. Let's see if they're close to being the same size. I got about 9 3/4. I got 9 3/4 outside, so I think that's gonna be it. Inside is gonna be hard to tell because it's done been eat up so much, but it's real close. This is a little bit wider, maybe an 1/8 wider, but like I said, it's been worn out so much, so that's what the problem is with that. So these will work good. And you know, with stuff like this, I usually just throw it away, but I know some people save that stuff, take it to scrap yard. It ain't worth taking just 2 of them to the scrap yard. You ain't gonna make the gas it took to drive there. But somebody that's collecting all that stuff, saving it up, they take a run up there, it might get them a little bit of money. Alright, what did I do with my vice grips? I told you needed there's a tool they've got, and there is one. It looks kind of like a big pair of tongs. It's really kind of neat, and it'll hook into the spring and hook over here, and you can squeeze it and it'll release those springs. Makes it so nice. But you know what, I don't know why, but I ain't never bought one of them, so I do it the hard way. And if you are doing this and don't have the tool and don't want to run and go get one, do it the hard way. Why not? Let me get up off my tail. Alright, that was harder than it looked. Alright, sometimes what I'll do to make sure I, don't get confused about it, I'll lay it on the ground in a way to where I know where it goes, because see, that was the front spring. I'm going to take the back spring off. I'm not even sure that it really matters on them. Maybe it does on some of them. I can't remember if it matters on these. But if you can see where it hooks right here, the back spring hooks right there, and the front spring hooked onto here. No, I'm sorry, hooked onto here, and then may have hooked on the same place, can't remember now. So that's a good reason that you ought to pay attention. This is the part where it makes it worthwhile having that tool, because the back one is kind of harder to get to than the front one is. As you can see, this caliper here has, oh, that ain't good. You see that? That ain't supposed to leak. So I think what's done happened is she may have busted. Yeah, that's bent a certain way. That probably does matter where it goes. It goes in the back. You can see the two different ones, so I'm going to put that where it goes to the back. This where it goes to the front. And I don't know, I may have a little issue right here. Because that oil, I don't know, let me see. It ain't supposed to be coming around it, but maybe I let it press too far. Again, you're not watching this video for professional expert advice. You're watching it to figure out how a jack leg makes do when you don't want to pay a mechanic. So, keep that in mind. I'm pretty sure this is the new one that I put on. I believe it is. Maybe I just let that go in and caused it to squirt that oil out. And it come back in place. I think so. Alright, we got that off, and I know somebody's gonna be watching this video and be a mechanic and go, man, that boy dumb, he should have took that off first and done this first and blah blah blah. Well, if I was doing it right, I'd be getting paid for stuff like this instead of doing it to save money. So all y'all can not worry about it. Alright, that goes in there, and when we put it on, you screw it down. It screws in like this, and you get it adjusted. That just comes off, by the way. Don't let it freak you out. Put it in there and get it all adjusted back snug. We'll look at that in a little while. And then it's got a adjustment thing from a hole in the back here that you're able to stick a screwdriver in and tighten these things up or release them a little bit when you put everything back together, because you got to kind of got to get it set right before it'll work right. You don't just throw them on there and then drive off. It don't really work that way. Something else I want to tell you before I forget, whenever you do brakes, whether it's back, front, whatever, really the back not so much I don't think, but whatever, we'll see. The front, I always compress the caliper and put my brake pads and all on. Well, what that does is it means you don't have any brakes to start with, so you get in the car, you have to pump the brakes to get the fluid all pressed in the caliper back like it ought to, get everything engaged. Because what'll happen is you'll throw it in gear, back up, and you're like, oh crap, I ain't got any brakes. You have to stomp the gas, and as long as ain't nothing close to you, you might be alright. But it's best to pump them and test them out, make sure you got brakes, and then ease forward a little bit, ease back a little bit, and before you go too far. I almost want to take that rubber thing off and make sure that I ain't gonna have a leak. I know what happens. I push that thing in too far. See, that's my new ones. I think I pushed it in too far and allowed that fluid to get past it. That's what happened the first time, is this thing allowed it actually overextended and blew it out. It wasn't that it went bad, it was that the other was bad. But I may be messing myself up. Leave that alone before I mess something up. What I'm doing, in case you wonder why I'm playing with this, I'm trying to get all the fluid off that squirted in there when I let it go in that way. That way I can tell in a minute whenever I put pressure on it if it's still leaking or not. I don't want to push on it and then the juice that was already in there come out and me think it's messed up and have to go buy another one. I'm hoping that You hear that? Not knowing, hoping that it's alright. That's a good way to do mechanicing, is hoping. A pair of pliers I want. Well, I don't have the ones I want here, but anyway. What I do is take this, and it goes through the back side of this over here. I don't know if you can see it. It's hard to do this thing on my head, but back here there's a little place, and you can push in a little bit, grab that, push in and grab it. You'll notice it's got a little notch, and there's a notch this way on this. Push in and grab it, and then spin that to where it lines up with that hole, and this will come off. Just so you know what I'm talking about now. See this spring? Spring goes here. I'm going to set the spring there. This goes over this. You'll see that just sticks in the back there. I'll show you when I take this off. Well, I guess I can show you some of it now. Alright. That just sticks through a hole back there. That's all it does. And it looks like a little arrow, kind of like an arrow. And then this cap, you'll need to know that when you put it back on, which you can't do it no other way. You put the spring on after you get all the stuff on, and you put this on here, push in with the pliers real good, twist it, and then it'll slide and catch. See how it's catching right there? So that's what's going to have to happen. Y'all have to forgive me. I won't know till later on if this video is doing like I want it to with this head cam. I may need it tilted down a little more. But anyway, I ain't gonna mess with it too much. If it don't look good, don't watch it. Who cares? Alright. This piece, you look, see this piece just sets on here. It's not fastened on there. It just sits on there. So that's just sitting on there like that. And what you can do is lay it down right here like this, just like you took it off. That'll kind of give you an idea how it sets back up there. And you may think, well, I'll remember all that. I don't know why he's going through all that. His brain must not work good. Well, it don't. Alright, see this? It's got a little spring here at the bottom. See, and you see that these notches and all this goes up here. You just kind of look at it. Take this off, and I would lay it down just like you took it off. Take this off and lay it down just like it come off, although it don't matter if you flip it one way or the other. Those little dumb precautions will kind of help you later on, not to, because I'm telling you, it can get confusing when you start putting it back on, especially if you don't do it all the time. Alright, again, twisted that, so it don't matter where you put that, I don't guess, if you remember. Alright, now we're going to take this off. Now this will come down. Now you see this, it's kind of weird, but this will come down. This is your emergency brake. So when you pull your emergency brake, it pulls this and does adjustments and all like that. So, not to get too confused with this, you have to flip it over to the back side of it, and there's a little pin here, which they give us new ones when they got brakes. Alright, and I'd take a pair of pliers, make it where it catches this thing and not the actual clip, and then let this part of the plier catch the clip. Now I'm saying that like that's gonna work, but or you can just bend it and make a mess while you're on video. Alright, anyway, I need to go get the pliers that are bigger that I can use. Alright, I'll get a screwdriver. I'll be smarter. Like I told you, I'm not a professional. I'm a figure-outer as I go. I'm sure that's not a word. Alright. Stick it in there, just kind of separate that a little bit, because I squeezed it together when I put it on last time, just to make sure it didn't come off. And twist that, and that spreads that out. Now we should be able to get it to come off there. It really ain't going to come off when you got it clamped together. Alright, see how that's doing? It's coming off. I don't want to do it hard and make it flip off of here and you can't see. I hope I've got my head tilted down right. You see what I'm doing? I'll try to remember to tilt my head. I'm just being careful. It really ain't this hard. And I know it looks hard, but I'm making it look worse than it is. Trying to make sure I keep stuff on video, I guess. Alright. And I want to keep this to here, so there's that. For some reason you ain't got the other one, then keep that if you ain't got new ones. But I'd leave that there, and I'll tell you why, so it makes it where it's not confusing what to put back on there. Because, you know, like I said, if you don't do this all the time, it might be a little strange and not know how to fix it. Alright, so we basically disassembled this thing. Alright. If you'll notice, that one, see this one, doesn't have one of those little metal rods like this one's got. Okay? So one goes on one side and one goes on the other. That's a pair, sit, whatever you want to say. Same thing here. You got one with a metal thing that for the emergency brake, one that doesn't have it. So you got two sets. You don't want to put this on this and then take your other one right here and put it over here somehow, which I don't see how that's, I mean, somewhere I think that's going to be a mess. But just say you were able to put it back together. For some reason, when you get over to the other side, it ain't going to work, because you're going to need that. You have to come back. Alright, I want to show you too that there's a right and a left on these, it looks like. Because when I take this off, see this, the way that looks? That's the way it was sitting on there. Well, this is backwards. So, get this other one. This one matches. That's one reason I was telling you to leave it on there. And I don't know, I mean, maybe you can remember stuff a lot better, but we flip this over. So when I put this back on, it doesn't go up here like this. It actually flips around and goes up, because we did flip it. It did, you know, anyway. So when all that flipping and changing, you just take all of it loose, let it hang. When you go to put it back on, if you grab the wrong one of these, you're going to have it on backwards and trying to get it to fit, and it's just going to give you a pain, unnecessary pain. So this is the one that matches. So we're going to put this one back on, and it goes just like that. Now, I was about to say I probably lost the little packet. Here's a little packet of the new clips that come with it, and I could open it, but these gloves aren't letting me do it like I want to. I'm going to put the other one right there. So we're just going to go reverse of what we've already done. Maybe I can. Now I can grab this. Now I'm going, you notice I got it on there, but I don't want it to be able to come off, so I'm going to squeeze that. Don't be impatient like I am. If you got better pliers, go get you good pliers. Don't fight with these stupid ones right here. Ones that the handles and junks come off of just because you don't want to get up and go get the other ones. Alright, let's see. See, if you try to pick this up and put it back, you're like, man, why don't it fit? You don't know if you remember, we had spun it. Alright, when we dropped it down, we spun it to be like this. This goes to the back. So we spin it. Now it'll come back up and go into place. Alright, you see this right here? I like to stick my finger back here because it'll push back out that way. See, it'll come out the back. Alright, I like to, and if you get a set that gives you new ones, then that's great, but I don't. You put in this center hole right here, center hole, you put it in there like that. Alright, of course it's supposed to line up there, but all that'll come together in a minute. Now we're going to put this spring over it, over the hole, and then this cap, and just so you know, this cap is indented like this, where the indentation sits inside the spring. Alright, well, if I'd have grabbed the pliers first, I wouldn't have let go. So what I'm going to do is take these pliers, open and push, grab hold of that. There you see. Hold on a second, guys. I think my video may be answer. Hey, Mom. That ain't no problem. I'm sitting here videoing me working on your car, having fun, talking to folks that ain't here. But I took it off, and those brake shoes, I didn't like the way they looked, so I went up to AutoZone. They swapped them, no problem. I ain't even asked them. They was like, all right. Because I just wanted some new ones. The other ones, they actually wore off on one side versus the other, so something wasn't sitting in there right anyway because of the way they were ate up. So, and I measured these drums. They are the same measurement as the other ones, so that should all be right. But I was just going to tell you because I was riding that road. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're working. I mean, I measured them. I haven't put them on yet, but I measured it, and it's the same as the one I took off. So I mean, it's good. But well, there may be a different one. Just that one. Well, there may be a common one, and there may be one that's unusual. So maybe they just assume that common one's what most people got. But when they pull it up, it shows that there are other options. I mean, I don't know. All right. I got my. Yeah, no problem. I'm having fun. All right, Mom. All right, love you. Bye. All right, let's see if we connect it back. Well, goodness gracious. Has that been recording this whole time? Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I got a call. Let me put this back on this helmet cam. Got a phone call, and I've got this thing hooked up to an app on my phone, so I thought it had cut it off, but it did not. And guess what? You won't know any better because I'm going to edit this out. Alright. Now, if you can see, let me get my phone over here and see if you can see. Alright, so I got that thing put back on there and got the little clamp put back on. Alright, now we're going to put this other side on. And of course this goes up here because you're going to have this piece here that sits in there and all that junk. So, you know, this goes to the top, this goes to the bottom. You got the little spring, it goes on at the bottom. There's probably a right way to start this out, and it's probably not the way I'm doing. And I'll tell you something else too that helps. You don't pick up the old brake shoe and put it back on when you're supposed to be putting a new one on like I was about to do. Probably ain't a good idea. Alright, so anyway, this goes to the top with the notches like that. Obviously, I mean, it ain't obvious, I don't guess, but let's put this in there. And get the other one. I actually can put this on with my finger. I stuck that spring on there, pushed that in, spun it. I'm holding it with my finger in the back so it don't push through the back. And I got that on there now. It's just kind of floating up here. I'm going to put this in there, kind of where it goes. And this stuff's going to move around a lot. And if you can see, let me see if I can get closer, we can see. Down here at the bottom, there's a little piece here that's got some lips that these shoes go and set in that. So don't let your shoe be sitting, because see, before you get all this stuff hooked on there, it can be popped out over it. Of course, when you go to try to put it together, it ain't gonna work, but it's just to save you some trouble to notice that this right here has got a lip right here that they'll set up under. And then we're gonna put our spring back with our vice grips or the tool if you're smart and bought the tool. And then we're going to put the back spring in there first because you can get it first. Then we'll put this leveler piece in there. And anyway, that's what we're working on now. I'm going to go ahead and probably put this bottom spring in. For some reason. I don't know why. Let's see, I can clamp on that. Hook it down here. And then Hook it right there. Ta-da. Looks easy. Now I'm gonna tell you, you may be tempted to try it with some regular pliers, but it is not as easy as you think. I mean, you can do it, but you're gonna have to have a hoss of a grip on you, especially when you get on some of these up here, because you're gonna have to squeeze extremely hard to hold that metal and pull, and I mean, it's just a lot to have to do all at one time. I can promise you don't want to fool with that. Just get the tool. If you want to be smart, buy the tool. If you want to save money and be aggravated like I do, then use vice grips. But smaller vice grips would probably be easier to work with than what I'm doing. Alright, I don't know if you noticed, but I got that in there. Maybe I had my camera where you can see it. That was aggravating. Very aggravating, actually. But done. Now, this will go in there. Believe me. Tighten it up like that where you can get it in there. Size in that groove. And probably, if you watched a real mechanic do this, they probably don't put the spring on until after they put this on. But I'm not a real mechanic, so I do it this way. Alright, and that little slot, if you see it, that little slot comes out this way. You'll see why. And, when you put all this back on, this goes up here on this little groove that you'll see up here. And when it goes on that groove, I'm fiddling with it, but it ain't wanting to do right. I hate wearing gloves. It does help clean up later. Alright. Now, you can see, that goes on that round part, that groove does. Then this groove sits inside the groove or notch that's on here. And there's an R on that, for I believe this is the right side of the car, so that's for the R. But that's beside the point. Then in there, if you can see, that little arm goes in there and sits on this wheel right here with these notches in it. And we're going to put the spring on here, but whenever it's got a self leveler, so as you putting on brakes, just bending back or stuff, this thing will come out and press the brakes against the drum, get it snug, and you can actually go in from the back with a screwdriver and flip these little notches, and it'll spin and take this tension off and allow this to adjust. And so anyway, there's a lot going on with that little piece, but you need to kind of know where to put it. Alright, I'm going to push this back in place, and this hooks on the back side of that, on that groove. Now I've got that pulled up. Alright, and it doesn't go in this hole or that hole right there, because that would not be tight. So I think that kind of makes sense. Alright, now, see, with the vice grips you can hold that thing tight and not have to fight trying to pull strong as an ox. Alright, so now that's on there. Now, this is on here, both the spring on front, back's on here, this on here, the lever, all that's good. We got this, we got it kind of centered. I will know whenever we put this thing in gear and back it up. If I see fluid squirting out everywhere, I know this thing got busted somehow. And I'm going to have to take it back apart and buy a new one of those. They bolt in from the back, got a brake line that connects to it, and it just comes off. You put the new one on. It's really easy to swap. It's aggravating to get all this off to get to it, because you have to take all this off to swap it out. Well, you have to take most of it off. And I believe it's going to be fine. It's brand new. I don't know why I got that fluid coming out of there, but anyway. Alright, so I like to try to get it, somewhat kind of even, centered. Don't know if that's necessary. That's what I like to do. I'm going to put this old one over here with that old one, and that's it. I mean, it's back together. There really isn't as much to it as it seems like it is, but if you've never done it, and you're fooling with it the first time, that's aggravating. Now, I've got this new rotor, and I have some brake cleaner. And I'm about to go in there and spray it with brake cleaner, because they put this oil on here from the from the factory or wherever from, whatever you want to call it. They put it on there to keep it, I guess, from being rusty or anything like that, you know, just to kind of preserve it till it gets to you. But just so you know, oil and friction don't go together so good, at least not to help each other. So if I leave all that oil, and you know, maybe it ain't much on there, if I leave all that oil on the inside, it might not let the brake pads do everything they want to do. So what I'm going to do, let me go through this way. What I'm going to do, spray the inside of that a little bit and get that, make sure I don't have any oil where the shoes, the brake pad shoe, they're not pads on the back, they're shoes on the back, but I always call it the same thing because it don't matter what I say. I say what I want. Alright, hold on a second. I know y'all are real busy and y'all ain't got time to watch me walk around, but fast forward it. That's why you got a fast forward button. Don't get ill at me. Alright. Alright. Now, you know what? Help if I told you what I was going to do if I actually done it. Get the brake cleaner. I bet you're like, how does that boy find anything in that nasty shop? Believe it or not, I clean it up every once in a while. And I've got 10 kids. I'm not lying. I got 10 kids. 8 still at home. 1 that ain't at home but uses the shop just as much as anybody else. And projects and junk and playing and everything gets thrown in there. And not to mention what I do. That's why it's such a mess. Alright, I'm going to spray this and clean this up a little bit. Now, let me go get me another rag. I've actually got some clean rags in the house, but I don't want to waste them. I got some that I use, and like a good clean shop person, I just throw them on the ground, pick them up later. Oh well, let me use this one out here. All in all, I'm talking and not going wide open and fast, and not trying to hurry. This job doesn't really take as long, unless you like to talk and run your mouth and won't get all your stuff together before you get started. That kind of helps if you'll get all your stuff together first before you actually start. You don't have to run around looking for stuff. Alright. Now I'm going to put this up here. I want to show you something. See how easy that slides on? I'm not hardly even touching those brake pads, those shoes. So what I want to do is adjust that thing out a little bit. Because it's a lot easier to adjust. I know there's a hole in the back where you can adjust it, but trust me, it ain't. It's a little more aggravating than doing it like this. So what I want to do is let this out just a little bit. And I think you can see right there the gap's getting bigger as I twist this adjuster here. And what it's doing is spreading my pads out. I don't know what the official distance and all that's supposed to be. I had a mechanic friend of mine say that when you put your tire and all on, that you want to be able to spin this freely. You don't want it locked up, but you want to hear it just kind of scrub just a little bit, just so it's, you know it's touching the wall. And see, I may actually have that too tight. I don't know. Go to Google and search and see exactly how tight you want that to be, because I don't know. I'm gonna do what I think, what I want, but it probably ain't what's right, so don't listen to me. I think that may be like I want it. I mean, let's get it to where it just is. running across there. Just got some tension on it. If you put it too tight, it's going to wear your pads down because it's going to be scrubbing all the time. If you put it too loose, it ain't going to work like you want it to. So I'm going to try to release it some, because I feel like I might have it a little too tight. A couple of little turns back, and then see if that ain't better. Oh, and another good idea is don't stick your finger back there when you're shoving it on, because that kind of hurts. I don't know about you, but yeah, I like it. Alright, see, I can spin it freely, but it's still, you can tell that the pads are just barely touching. And again, it's got a self-level in there, so I'm expecting it to do something, or else they shouldn't call it a self-level. Maybe they don't even call it that. Maybe that's what I call it. Maybe I'm making all this up. Alright, I'm going to put the tire back on, put the lug nuts on, tighten them up. I think I got enough battery. Let's see if I got enough battery before I have to change batteries. Do that real quick. No. Put the tire on. I think I got enough before I have to change batteries on my little camera. I like to, and I think it's probably a good idea, snug up one on one side, one on the other, to make sure you get the tire pushed on their center, because you don't want to put all these on and then tighten up one side and go around, because if your tire gets, you know, kind of on an angle and it gets wedged, it'll let your lug nuts tighten up, but it really ain't got it pressed to it. So when you start driving down the road, it works loose, and then you got a loose tire and you're wobbling around going down the road, or you get in a mess. So before you let the tire down, before you let it down, the jack, I mean, you're gonna wanna. I like to take my pin out. Some people, might not be. They want to go ahead and just spin it with something else, but I like to snug it up. Push that, and then. All right. Remember our different sizes and the reason for it. Ain't gonna go back through that. Snug it up. Alright, now I should have that thing pulled up and leveled up and everything like it's supposed to be. I can put these on. And I tighten one on one side, one on the other, and then I'll kind of rotate that a little bit as I tighten it. And I'd like to start on my hand so I don't get them cross-threaded. That's another nightmare you're going to have to fool with for no reason. I forgot I need to use the other. Alright, now I always go around and make sure they're snugged up. And then when I let it down, I'll take the 4-way, because I don't have, I'm not a tire shop, so I don't have one that's calibrated and set to a certain pounds, and I don't know all the technical junk you got to do. One good thing to do is to take this out from under it before you try to let it down, because it ain't gonna let down without it. Now we're gonna let this down. Alright, and then I will grab my 4-way, just so in case that clutch on that impact thing is not like it ought to be. Alright, then that's pretty good and tight. So it looks like it's all good. I just like to check it to make sure so we don't run into a miss. Alright, I'll go to the other side. Alright, so here we are. This is the other side, but I tell you what, this is going to be a waste of time to video this. So what we'll do is you just watch what we did on the other side. You do the exact same thing over here, so there's nothing different. Just be a waste of time for you to watch it twice. Let's go back and watch the other one. Then whenever I get through this, I'll do the front brakes. I'll show you how to do it, and then that'll be the end of this video. Alright, real quick, I said I was going to wait till I got the front brakes, but this one's not wanting to come off. It's aggravating, so I figured I'd video me anyway, working on it. This camera turned down enough. Alright, let's see if I can. I don't know what all I'm gonna have to do to get this off, but we're about to see. So I was trying to tell you on the other side, and it made a liar out of me about how hard it was to get to come off. I bumped on it and it fell right off. This one, sometimes you can tap it with this rubber mallet. This ain't a metal one, and it'll release, but it's not doing it now. So what's happened is I know what's going on, and it's a nightmare. You're gonna have to see the brake pad. There's a lip that's in there. If I could get the old one and show you real quick, show you what I'm having, what's going on, so you'll know if you run into it ever. When you're looking at that thing in there, this comes over like this. So you stick a screwdriver in there and you think you're prying this off of this, but you're not. That's all one piece. But what's happening with me is the brake pad's sitting in there, and if you can see, there's a lip all the way around where this is it's worn out and got like a 1/16 to an 1/8 inch groove dug all the way around in there. So my brake pads are sitting inside there, pressed out hard, and they're pressing on that lip, and now I can't get it to slide off. So I need to reach in there and pry this just a little bit and get it started so it'll come off. And I think that on the other one there's actually a lot more groove than I've got on this one, and that's why it's not coming off on that side and it come off on this side. It's a lot harder to get off over there. So I'm going to be trying to somehow reach around from the back of the tire something and get that thing where it'll let go. We may even try adjusting the leveler, that self leveler I told you about, trying to get it to where it will release. But even if it releases, those springs, I mean, it's still kind of tight in there. I know I had a time trying to get this thing off last time, and I'm sure there's a video somewhere with a guy that's like, oh, this ain't nothing, take this little thing here and stick it there and boom, it comes right off. But I can promise you, I'm not gonna be that guy. Here's this hole right here where that adjustment thing is at, that adjustment arm. I'm going to have to get a bigger screwdriver because this one is not grabbing on nothing. Let's see if this one does. Now you'll feel it one way it's made to actually tighten. I say you'll feel it, you may not. Alright, if I push up with the screwdriver and down with that on this side, that's tightening it. Putting tension on it. I don't want that. I want it to release, but it ain't wanting to do it. Not with this screwdriver. I don't know if you know, I've done some grinding on this screwdriver. It's not going to do like I want it to. I need one that I haven't made into a chisel and then grind it back flat. told you wrong. I think if I'm prying upwards on the inside, that's releasing on this side, but I think each side's the opposite. So you just gonna have to, and if you're like me, this one's done been worn out to where it don't really work that way. I'm sure there's a lot of other things we could do. I'll show this to you mechanic friends now. They're gonna be like, what kind of idiot are you watching on the internet that does a stupid mess like that? Don't even know all you gotta do is blah blah blah. Well, no, because if I knew that, we wouldn't be doing this. Sometimes, if that lift ain't so bad, you can put some pressure on that thing and bump it like that, and it will release like that did just then. But I can promise you, when I did it last time, it didn't work like that. One thing I got going in my favor is I'm replacing this this drum. Maybe I won't mess it up, but if I do, who cares? Something released some, but not enough. Now, you see I'm getting where I can get to that oh man, I have lost bolts. Right now I can see I have lost bolts on this caliper. I don't know where they're at, but they're not there. So that means not good news. Why did I lose? I don't know how that's happened, but it ain't a good sign, just so you know. It ain't a good sign. That means I'm gonna have to try and find some more or something. Man, I got that crazy thing that's gonna come off, which is not good. Kind of aggravated about that. Now I probably ain't got bolts to, if it's still any good, I ain't got the bolts to go back in it. As you can see, what looks like it's coming off, it really ain't. It's just allowing one side to stretch while the other side don't. But if I could get in there and just get those brake pads, those shoes to let go. Uh-oh. Hear that? Wasn't a good sound, was it? That means I just broke something. Hear that? Now if I can get I can hear them springs trying to stay on, but they ain't going to. Huh? I don't need it right now. I'm working on something, so pretty sure I don't need no meal right now. Alright, I'm getting to where I can get in there and see a little bit. But I know what's happening. Just going to pop that other thing loose. I'm going to be making trips to the parts store I don't want to make. Alright, well, let me take this camera off because I got to stick my head in there and it's getting in the way and hitting stuff. So, needless to say, this is going to be some tricky stuff. I'll cut it back on after I get this off. Well, maybe I won't. Alright. I couldn't crawl around with this helmet, this thing on my head like I wanted to. Just to let you see, I tell you what, let me take this off so I can make sure you see. This we had. All that had come loose in there. Well, when I went to prying on it, it come loose. Not necessarily normally, but if you can see, I don't know if you can, that lip where it had been eat off so much, there's probably 3/16 to a 1/4 inch lip that those brakes were sitting inside of. There's all my little pieces laying on the ground. That's the problem I had the first time I had to take this thing apart. It had wore out so much to where, anyway, you just couldn't, and you can't get up in there to make it turn loose. So I finally pried it out enough, and what happened, it popped those little things off, which is not good because here's the little piece that goes on it. Let's see if I can show you. Here's the little piece that goes through the back, and it popped them off and pulled them through, which ain't great. Probably if I was going to give advice, I'd say buy some new ones, but I don't have new ones. So here I am, and what's happened is this has been replaced. That's a new caliper, but the bolts are gone from the back of it. I don't know if they just worked their way out, I guess is what happened. So I don't know why that is. I'm going to look and see if I've got some from where I changed it before. Maybe it's the old bolts that used to be on it. I usually throw that in my toolbox. If I've got the old bolts, I can put it back together. If not, I've got to go up there and probably buy another one, or either exchange it to get the bolts for it and bolt it back in. I'm going to put a little Loctite on it this time to make sure it don't happen again. But anyway, that's what we run into on this. I don't really know a right way to tell you to get that off, other than it took a lot of prying and beating and banging to get it loose. And I mean, I'm putting another rotor on, so I didn't mess it up. But you can break some of these springs and stuff. I actually had to reach in there, pop them springs off to make it release and get it to where I could finally get it off. And that was after prying it out, so it was a mess. Alright, I'll start recording when we get back on the front. Alright, let me show you. We dodged a bullet. Or I dodged a bullet. I guess we ain't done it. That caliper that I replaced. I can't know if you can see. Let's see. See those two little bolts? Alright, you see the one in the middle. That's the bleeder valve, and then there's a bolt on both sides. That's what holds this on. Those had wobbled, I guess vibrated and worked out and fell out somewhere going down the road for. And I'm the one that put this thing on here. I know I tightened it, but I don't believe I put any Loctite on it because I didn't know, I guess, that I should have. But this time, I actually, every time I change something, I take the old bolts off. A lot of times I'll just throw them in my toolbox. I don't know, just in case I need one for something or whatever. Well, it was a good thing I threw the old ones in there because I had what I needed to put that back on. And I put some Loctite on there real good, so now maybe they won't work their way back out. But as far as that goes, everything else is fine. I'm just going to put it all back together like I did the other side, and then we'll be good to go. All right, I'll get back with you in a sec. All right, we're at the front now. We got the let's see if we can get. I got the tire off just like we talked about on the back. Got some extra stuff under it, whatever, to keep it safe. Done all that. You don't have to watch it. In the back tire, I got it on pretty good. It was a little aggravating, but once I got it off, I had the bolts. The bolts I told you wobbled out and fell out. Well, I kept the old bolts. For some reason, I do that. I don't know why, but anyway, it worked out pretty good. I put some Loctite on it, put it in there. Anyway, that's good. So now we're gonna change these brake pads. Take tires off. You got. Let me see what size that is. It's a 14 millimeter. I always like to see if I'm going tighten or loosen before I put it back there, because it gets confusing once you get backwards with it. And then I take my hand, bump it like that, and it'll break it loose. Oops. Guess you can still see, can't you? You see where I did that there? There's one at the bottom. There's 2 bolts here. And depending on what your car is, and we're looking at this this Jeep Compass Sport, but depending on what your vehicle is, whether it's got a hex head bolt or an Allen wrench or some star bit, they got all different kinds. I don't know why they do that other than make it aggravating. Alright. This is pretty easy, actually. Take that out. See if I can get this camera to go down even more without having to redo everything. Anyway, we're doing this. I thought it might be faster with my hand, but then using a ratchet because it wasn't real tight. I think I'm just spinning. It's already loose. If you notice, this only has threads on the very end of it. The rest of it's a slide. It slides in there. The caliper slides back and forth on it, and the threads are right here. So that's all that you got to get loose before you slide it out. Alright, now just wiggle this back and forth, and then you can twist it around and lay it up on top. Alright, I'll tell you what you need if you ever do brake pads, or if you're going to do it the jack leg way, like what I'm trying to show you. You're going to need your C-clamp, and what that'll do, we're going to take one of these brake pads off. These look pretty good. I don't think you really needed them changed. We're going to put this on here and tighten this C-clamp up, and it'll compress that caliper. Because when you put the new ones on, you're going to need more room than you got with the old ones. The old ones are worn down, so you put new ones on there, they're going to be thicker than your old ones. You're going to need this caliper compressed so that when you put them both on there, it'll slide back over it. You'll find out if you don't do it, it ain't going to go on it, so you'll have to do it. Now, you'll see a lot of people will open up the bleeder valve back there and push the caliper in and squirt the juice out and the brake fluid out, and then when it's all said and done, they have to re-bleed the brakes. I don't want to bleed the brakes, so I'm not going to open the bleeder valve. And they might tell you that ain't the right way to do it, and I don't doubt that it ain't, but that's the way I do it. I've always done it and ain't never had no trouble. Alright, let's see. You got these new pieces that go on there. These pieces. I'm trying to adjust this camera, y'all. I just don't think I'm getting enough of enough where you can see. Sometimes these things are all the same, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they look like they're the same, and they're not. You have to look real close. Sometimes they got a notch on them, bevel, something that's different than the other. I cannot find anything different, so then what we do, take this out, and I'll usually lay it on the side that it goes, even though they're the same. Lay it on the side that it goes so I'll know, because if you notice, I just took this one off. You've got this warning thing. It goes on there, and when the pad gets down so low, that starts scrubbing and it squeals, and it lets you know it's time to change your brakes. This is on the back side. If I were to put it on the front, it may be in the way when you put the caliper on. When you put the caliper on, that may be in the way. I've done that before, put it on the opposite side of where it's supposed to go, or where it was at. Some of them don't matter, but some of them do, and the caliper won't sit on there right. And so anyway, I always just take it off and lay it down like it was going, so I know the one with that was on the back, the other one was on the front, and that's just the way I do it. But again, who knows if it's good or bad. Alright, these little things here, you see them, they've got they're little metal things. They're just where the caliper sits, and a lot of times that's what gets you squealing from, actually. This thing will be wobbling around moving. They usually give you some grease to put on it, and it tells you where to put it. Make sure you pay attention to that, because you don't want grease on this, and you don't want grease on the pad, because then it's going to be sliding and not stopping. And the only reason I say that is my son. I got a son that he was putting grease on the pads. We called him, we're like, son, no wonder your brake jobs ain't working too good. Alright. You see, alright, see this little clip, that's that thing I was telling you about that makes the squealing stop, or it starts squealing and lets you know when it's time to change them. So I'm going to look at this brake pad here. I'm trying to make it where y'all can see, but that's a little aggravating. I'm going to look at this other one, and I'm going to put this thing in the same spot as that other one. And it's got a little indention that slides over this little indention here, and just make it match the one that you're looking at down there. Push that on. Now yours may come with this already on there. Some of them are made on, or already fastened on, attached. Now that matches that, they look the same. So I'm going to put this one on the back side where this other one was at. If you notice, you got to turn the curve the direction of the curve, like that. And that's going to go in the back, and then I'm going to get another one. It's going to go in the front. Set these over to the side out of the way. But I've got to put these new slides on right here, and you can see they kind of blowing some of this trash away. They're a little self-explanatory. They just kind of go one way. Put that on. Take the one and put it on the top. There. Now it's on there. This, obviously, the rough stuff goes towards the brake rotor, or else it ain't gonna stop. And the curve goes, it really only fits one way, so I don't really know why I spend much time telling you that. It ain't gonna do but one thing. Alright, now that's it. Those are on there. I'm gonna take this and bring it down, and now it'll slide over it because we released the caliper. Now, get up where I can see, and you can see too. Now you're going to take and push this back where that won't be in the way. Same thing at the bottom. You got that little dust guard that needs to get behind there. See that little dust guard there? It goes back behind it. It will mash up and get in your way. Then you're going to take this and work it through that dust guard and slide it in. Same here. You're going to put that in there. And get it where, let's see. Slide it in, and then you can take your finger and start twisting it and get it started. And I mean, if it's loose enough, you can twist it all the way into, well, and I guess until you can't, then you do the rest of the ratchet. And the same thing at the bottom. So push in a little bit when you start twisting and make sure the thread's started, or else you just be spinning it and not going anywhere. Alright, now, get her 14mm. We'll make sure it's tight. It's going to be tightening. Alright, and that's probably about so many foot-pounds. I'm just kidding. This bolt has been rounded off a little bit. So, got it. Now, I guess that's it really. Just like I said, remember when you go to back up that you pump your brakes. Make sure that they're, you got a pedal, because if not, with us compressing that caliper, now that caliper is not tight. So when you push the brakes, you don't have any pressure to make the fluid back up and create, brake pressure. So you got to pump it to get that caliper to come on in and make contact. And when it makes contact, then when you push it, it'll start backing up and making pressure on all the brakes, and you'll have brakes. So if you don't do that, when you first put it in gear and take off, you're going to hit the brakes and not have none. You're going to roll into something. So make sure you pump them and get your brakes before you start driving or anything. Just double check that. Alright, I guess that's all I'm going to do in the video. I'm going to put the tire back on, do the same thing on the other side, and that'll be it. Appreciate you watching, or fast forwarding through, or whatever it is you done. Hope you have a good day.